I'm going to call this meeting to order.
It's 6:32.
If I had a gavel, I'd count it.
One right behind you.
There we go. That means be quiet.
Whoa! Business.
We're going to call this meeting to order. And recognition of public, I see the sign-in sheet going around. Thank you for signing in. New additions to the agenda. And change in agenda order. I would like to propose a change in agenda order, which is, Susan, I hope this is okay with you, that we move you to after the listers. Jeremiah has another commitment, and so we want to.
No, that's no problem.
Okay, great, thank you. Any other changes in order proposed? Whose cell phone?
Is your phone ringing?
Somebody's phone is making noise.
Not mine.
No, mine. Mine's at home, I forgot it. Okay, so approval of minutes for the July 27th meeting. Everybody get a chance to read them?
Yes. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. And first order of business is the Green River Covered Bridge Alternatives Analysis. Just to refresh people's memory, on October 29th, we reviewed the excellent and thorough report that Hoyle and Tanner did of all the different alternatives that we were looking at, and we decided at that time to pursue the route of repairing and reinforcing the Green River Covered Bridge, which is what we intend to do this next summer. But we also made a motion to look at alternative A, which was the alternative that's down. Is that to the north? I can't remember.
To the north, yeah.
To the north by quite a bit, and going around and cutting up through the land behind. We stopped at that point we didn't make any decision about it. We decided to pursue finding out what it would cost to do an analysis of that. And so Sean James is here from Hoyle and Tanner, and doesn't have pictures of his kids on skateboard tonight, but yeah, so Sean, we just wanted to gather information from you. As Sean explained to me, he was looking at it from 30,000 feet. We're going to need to get closer, but he needs to understand what we want in order to give us a sense of what that would cost, right?
Yep, exactly.
So you want to give a little more?
Yeah, no, I can explain a little more.
Okay, great.
So we went back and forth, and I did a little bit about taking that alternative study a little bit further. And so we talked, well, how much further? At the very end, you would end up with contract plans that you could go out and bid. And I think the town's a long ways from that. What we did in the study, as Ann explained, was kind of a 30,000 foot view. What could you do? Get you in the ballpark of things that were possible. And then I think the next step, if you want to do that, is get into a little bit more detail on it. So what would that be? What we were thinking was getting a small group together, like a steering committee, if you will, technical advisory committee, whatever you want to call it. Certainly not the volunteer Matt, but someone like Matt on that, someone from the planning board, select board, someone that maybe lives in the area, and start looking at it a little bit more detail. Do a site walk, talk to landowner. I don't know where that stands, but that's really important.
Mm-hmm.
And kind of narrow that down. I think with the site walk, talking to different groups in town, we could kind of take it a little bit further. That's to kind of zero you in a little bit more. Beyond that, if you want to get any kind of design, you have to do what's called aerial photogrammetry. Basically, you fly overhead and it gives us some good survey data. Right now the data we have is 20-foot contours, which is not nearly accurate enough to refine the estimate. And I think that's probably about the next step, and then look at refining the alignment and the cost estimate a little. So get you more to like a conceptual stage. And then that would also be looking at some of the, which we've looked at in a broad overview, but looking at a little more detail on some of the environmental issues, permitting, those sorts of things. So I think
you're
that's
talking about like a tiered process. Like step one would be small group getting together, representatives from these things. They would do a site walk, talk to the landowner, and you might get a sense at that point, yeah, this is feasible, or no, this is not feasible, and not have to go to level B, aerial photogrammetry,
Right.
And then if you go to level B, where you have more detailed aerial photogrammetry, I'm learning that word, that then you would, that would obviously cost more money, and you'd have more information, and I gather what you'd be looking at there would be the topography.
Right, exactly. It's very steep in parts through there, so trying to, really what that would allow us to do is refine the estimate a little bit.
The estimate for the project or the
For
estimate?
the project.
Okay,
Yeah, for the project.
okay.
Because when we looked at it, we put a route in there. We had some feedback from the public meetings last year.
Uh-huh.
Some people that live in the area that, well, it looks good to here, but you ought to think about moving it here or here. People that knew the site better than we did. Those are the things you'd look at and then move ahead with the photogrammetry. And the reason that's kind of phase B, that can be expensive is a relative term, but it's somewhere in probably in the $30,000 range.
That photogrammetry, that when you get to that level?
Yeah, just to
Okay.
do that. So
Okay.
you really want to make sure that's where you want to be, within reason when you do that.
That makes sense to me, that rather than jumping to a $30,000 study, you do this much more low-key site visit, landowner discussion, walk, before you get there.
The first thing I would like to see would be documents from all the landowners saying, yes, we agree to this project and are willing to sell or deed to the town at a given sum right away through our property. I think that's gonna be a hard sell.
How many landowners do we know? Do we know how many?
4 or 5, 3.
Three landowners?
So,
Sure.
you introduced this, but I, as a result of the email that you sent out to Green River, the Green River listserv, somebody wrote back to me and said, I thought this was resolved already.
No.
Why are we opening it up again? So maybe
What did they think was resolved?
that there was no need for an alternate route because the bridge was going to be reconstructed. So, and I don't know how to answer that, so I thought maybe we could start there tonight.
Okay, well, I thought I did, but I'll
Okay, so
go
I'm
over
sorry
it
I
again.
missed the-
No, what I said is, when we had our November, I think it was November 10th meeting,
Yeah.
after the October 29th, going all through the analysis, we made two motions. One was that what we wanted to do was repair and shore up the bridge. But the other motion was that we wanted to get more information to explore alternative A, which is this one that cuts around.
Which would not include the bridge.
No.
Correct. That would be so that if there were emergency vehicles or if the bridge were taken out, there would be another road using a currently existing bridge.
So I'm sorry, it doesn't include the bridge, it's not in addition to the bridge.
It is, well, I mean, we're
It's
still gonna,
separate,
we're gonna do the
separate.
bridge
Okay,
next
so
time.
it is
It's
in
a-
addition to the bridge?
Yes,
Yeah,
it's
okay.
sort of a long-term, gee, we might wanna think about long-term.
That answers that
I
question,
think-
I think.
I figured to make a motion to start a trust fund with an alternative route at $1 a year.
So I'm
Maybe
curious-
not effective.
Other comments from, there are people here from Green River, any thoughts? Is this clear what we're talking about here?
Yeah, I'd like to, there must be photogrammetry already available. There's gotta be. And that's one of the first things you should be getting is a good photogrammetry. If you're gonna do any planning. I mean, normally the next thing you do after you get the photogrammetry, you're gonna trial route through. But you can't do that until you have the photogrammetry.
So Addison, why do you think that there ought to be photogrammetry already available? From what?
From different flights, from the state. The state's done 4 or 5 flights, right? There must be photogrammetry available.
Well, at the level though that Sean's asking for,
30,000,
I don't know if it's.
Yeah, but, well, for trial planning at this
It's
stage.
possible.
Okay, so that would be a good thing to explore, what is already available.
Right, we did look on, there's a couple of sources, there's public, which we did look for, didn't find any that was any better resolution than what we were looking for. There are several companies that also may have flown it, we can certainly check with them. It's possible that it's been done. The issue that, like Matt mentioned, is really the resolution that you're looking for.
The owner of the mill at one time had a permit to redo the dam and open that sluiceway back up.
Okay.
So that mill is sort of an issue that's in the way.
Which mill? is
The old
this?
mill just across the cement bridge.
From the.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
he has intent to restore that,
Okay.
which is financially impossible, but,
No, he's lost all of his.
yeah. And also,
Boiler and everything.
I think it would be about impossible for a trailer truck to make a turn off of that alternative route onto the Green River Road. The 90-degree turn there is about impossible without going into the river on the other side.
The mill's gotta go.
Yeah, yeah. So that's just a couple things that.
Just a couple obstacles that you're aware of.
That I'm aware of, yeah.
So how much do you think, I mean, we talked about the aerial photos are gonna be about $30,000. What do you estimate just to get sort of the steering committee together to, do a site walk, investigate it further? It might be that, what Dick's saying is true, that, all the landowners are gonna say, no way, you're gonna have to fight me for the land. And that might be the end of that, But what would it, just the first part A, I'll call it the steering committee, estimate cost?
Yeah, and that's part of the reason we were talking about doing this stepped approach on it. It really depends on how many meetings you want to have and how, I know Ann mentioned that in September you'd be looking at that, but what we would do is go back and put a proposal together for you.
Actually, no, what I mentioned about September is at the
Oh, that's for
September
the
meeting,
bridge.
we'll be looking at
Yeah.
doing a real timetable and cost analysis of the work that's gonna happen next summer on the bridge.
So I think our next step, if the town wants to go ahead, was we'd give you a proposal that says we're gonna do ABC, and you say yes, no, it's too much, no one ever says too little, but it's too much. Cut the meetings back or something along those lines.
Any
I'd have to
comments
talk
from-
to
yeah.
I'd have to talk to Matt a little bit too about what kind of involvement you'd have if any. Right. Again, I'm not trying to drag you in.
So Sean,
But I am a little.
following up on what Gabby said, would there be a way that you could estimate, let's say we just said, okay, we have a site walk, we have maybe 2 meetings, so a three, I'm just guessing. Would there be, if you said 3 meetings, would there be a way you could guesstimate what that would cost? I mean, I'm not asking you to right now, but.
Yeah, we can. Yeah, we absolutely. Yeah.
So for that sort of first step, that may,
That'd be 3 steps, 3 meetings.
anybody, thank you people from Green River for coming. Any other comments or questions about, yeah?
The $30,000, is that just a flyover for the photography?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Drone technology could achieve the same thing? You see some pretty awesome videos, and my cousin has a drone, and his videos are pretty awesome when he flies over, and he's in great detail. And would that achieve the same at a lower cost, you think?
That's a great question. Really, FAA hasn't commercially licensed those for people like us yet. They're still working on the licensing, so technically you're not supposed to use those for those sorts of purposes
I see.
for professional right now. So that's part of the answer. The other answer is I don't know. That technology's changing so fast, I'm not sure. But again, the aerial's pretty tried and true, and it's, that's a guess. We would give the company a map and, show we want this area, and we get proposals back from them. So that's just a ballpark. It may, it's plus or minus. But I guess the point is, it's not $3,000. It's, for the aerial.
Do we know what's making that noise?
Yeah, it's the copied mugs up there.
Oh. Thank you. Other comments, Michael and Katie, anybody who has a comment, I'd be happy to hear just your thoughts about this. Katie, go ahead.
I was gonna ask if there was the possibility of getting a stepped proposal that included a fuller range of services, so that the photogrammetry piece could be included, so that the town would have the ability to see with a longer lens how much the costs would be, and to prepare better from a budget perspective if they chose to pursue that, how they might fund it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we could do that.
The one thing I keep wondering about is, if you got through step 1, you might logically go to step 2, or you might, like one of those choose your own adventure books, you might stop after step 1. You might determine based on the site, visit or landowner discussion or those other elements you talked about, you might say, I guess this really, when we look at it just at that level, is not an option. Or you may say, yeah, we could work with this. It's not too steep. It's not that landowners are open to it. Then you would, is that what you're talking about, Katie? Then going to the photogrammetry
Yeah,
or?
if you had a better idea of the roadmap of costs that lay ahead. And also too, I don't know how strongly the board feels about it in terms of pursuing it.
Mm-hmm.
So from a long-term planning tool, you would have that information. If you chose to make it a priority, you would have that as a basis to plan future financial planning to sort of save money, raise money.
Right, and that would be what we would propose to do. We'd have, you know, two parts to it, you know, the initial part and then the, you know, the next part there.
And after the aerial photos are taken,
Mhm.
what's the step after that? I mean, is that sort of the final?
Conceptual plans, you said, right?
You know, conceptual?
Yeah, conceptual plan. So again, we show a line on the paper. The idea with these meetings, the site walk would be to refine that, show it where it is, and then refine the estimate.
Okay.
The estimate of the
The-
actual project.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because there were a lot of assumptions in there.
Mhm.
You know, there were assumptions on whether you need retaining walls or not. You know, maybe rock excavation, those sorts of things. So they're all estimates. So that would get you, you know, better estimate to deal with.
I'm trying to remember.
Sure.
And I heard something that do the photos need to be taken at a particular time in the year?
Great question. Yeah, usually when there's no leaves on the tree, no snow on the ground is best. So this fall, next spring would be, you know, those are the best times. Really, in the middle of the summer, this time of year, you really can't do it because you need to be able to see as much of the ground as possible. So
I'm trying to remember, and I know it's in here somewhere, but maybe somebody has it in their head, what the estimate, I know it was very rough, but the estimate of that alternative, what was it?
1.7.
1.7 million, okay, thank you. Okay. So, I guess question at this point would be how to proceed. Do we want to, I mean, I like the idea of the stepped proposal of the, here's what part A would cost this, you know, assuming 3 to 4 meetings, a walk, whatever. Here's what part B would cost. And understanding that if we did part A, we may or may not do part B. And then beyond part B, going to the conceptual plan C, that would be the next thing, but we wouldn't, you know, we wouldn't commit to anything beyond the,
yeah, sure.
yeah. Other questions or comments? So Sean has a good sense of what we're,
I would ask one more, and that's a financial at 1.7. Would that include any attorney fees, et cetera, that may be involved?
Yeah, that was a total design, construction, attorney fee cost survey.
It was mentioned, take the land by eminent domain, that would be a big battle, I know, knowing the landowners. That's gonna come, that would be.
it's just
some-
getting more information,
Yeah,
yeah.
that would be an attorney fee that's not in your quote, right?
Yeah.
Okay, all right, that, yeah, well, I just wanted that question answered, yeah.
Any other comments, questions? So I guess I would feel comfortable at this point entertaining a motion to ask Sean for this kind of stepped phased proposal that he would then, you know, send or bring back to us to look at. You know,
So moved.
second, anyone?
I'll second.
Discussion.
I think my question is back to the one I asked earlier, the first thing that should be done is the landowners.
Okay.
If you can get back to the approval from them, then we can move forward.
Well, I think that would be part of the task of that
Yes,
small
yeah,
group.
Yeah,
Yeah. I think we'd like to try to get the most bottom line to find out exactly what it's gonna cost this town to even think about putting that bypass in. But I will second your motion, Jerry.
Sheila, any comments or thoughts about this?
I don't get it, so I'm sorry. I just feel like you have the bridge. How long is it gonna take to do the bridge versus how long is it gonna take to build this proposal and maybe come to an agreement about this? So probably Katie can enlighten me.
Well, I was gonna say, the bridge, the maximum tonnage you're gonna get out of the bridge is 18 tons, which precludes.
Eight.
Eight, excuse me, 8 tons, thank you for correcting. Which precludes a lot of vehicles from, including some of our emergency vehicles, from going over that bridge. So the idea was to have a bypass road that didn't really have restriction on it, allowing vehicles to access that part of Green River without having to use an alternate route.
Sheila, way back, over
I know,
the-
I missed a whole lot of this conversation.
Oh, you missed
last
all
year,
that,
so-
some of
oh,
it.
Yeah,
and it
no,
was-
but the point is, for years, we have been following, or at least thinking about two tracks. We need to shore up the bridge, we need to think about a new bridge. And so when we had this alternatives analysis, we had sort of, I keep looking back there to see if Addison's drawing's still
I've never
back
seen
there,
that.
but it
It's
isn't.
online.
It's online. But, we had a lot of other ideas about other places a new bridge could go. We knew we had to fix up what we had because a new bridge was gonna be a big deal. In this alternative study, a lot of those other ideas that we had showed, it proved to be unfeasible, not feasible. So then this route going north and around was the one that had some feasibility, really the only one. And so we thought, well, we've been going down this double lane because we know there are limitations on the current bridge, even with it all fixed up. So that's why it's sort of the parallel track.
So it's something to think about is by the time we get money to do the alternative, we're gonna have to redo the bridge for another 500,000 probably, because it's getting more traffic now than it ever did. Another alternative would be to put steel beams under that bridge, which would be real simple. Costly, not as costly, and maybe, what was that compared to this? It was quite a lot less than the 1.7 million, and raise the bridge up.
Are you talking about
I think the steel beam alternative was
That was-
one of the ones that was deemed not feasible.
It-
that would not
Well,
be
it is
approved.
feasible if we look at it. I mean, we decided it wasn't because we had this other alternative, but I mean.
No,
yeah.
I think it was because the Historic Bridge Committee would not approve it. That was my memory.
Well,
I think that was a concern, and it was $2.5 million,
As
and it
opposed to
would, and the fire
1.7.
trucks still wouldn't be able to go over it.
Sure they would.
Well, I'm just going by the information that was provided by the experts. I don't know anything about fire trucks, but that's my understanding, so that's the concern that
So
it
this
might
is
not
the
get to where we need to go
rational
anyway.
alternative. This is the rational addition to the current situation.
Yeah, so the fear, like when I had an emergency and I called 911 at my home, they couldn't get the ambulance couldn't go over the bridge, for example, so they had to send a different ambulance an hour later. So the concern is emergency vehicles like fire trucks from Guilford will not be able to get to Green River Bridge, for example. Things of that nature. The bigger grader, right, can't get over, I think.
Sean, did you have another comment?
Yeah, just to kind of fill in a little, the issue is, you're right, that we did look at an option to put steel beams under the bridge. The issue is really the height. If you go down there today, you're gonna see someone's driven into both ends of the bridge if
Yeah.
you look up at the portal.
Yeah.
So it's not so much the weight, it's more the height issue becomes. And yeah, you could certainly put steel beams in and lift it up so it's 14 feet high. It would look ridiculous, I think.
Right.
And then I think we'd also need to give the grant money back that we've
There's
received
that
for
possibility.
No,
the
I
historic.
think
value
it's
of the
pretty
bridge.
clear. Yeah. So yeah, it's like catching up on a soap opera that's going to be
Sorry,
going on for a long
sorry.
time.
I don't even want to ask any more questions, but
All right, so we have a
sounds like
motion.
two expensive bridges.
We have a motion on the table to have Sean and Hoyle and Tanner move forward with a proposal for a phased study. It's really what it is. And we have it seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Hi.
All opposed? Motion
I'll
carried.
eye it with the
Okay,
reservation.
thank you. Addison?
I've got a question. Has anybody else walked that hillside besides me?
No. You want to be on
I
the?
walked it twice.
Do you want to be on the site group?
A general, yeah, well, yeah. I've walked that twice, and I'll tell you, it's rugged country.
And that's
Even
why.
slope, your side slopes are tremendous.
Understood, and that's why this may be as far as we get. If we do that walk and we do the hairpin turn and we talk to landowners, we might say there are too many obstacles. I think that we've still got a bigger problem with the bridge, so it's worth studying, at least to
That's why I
them.
think we need the photogrammetry as soon as possible, because you're gonna see that. You're gonna see those slopes on the photogrammetry.
So I think we've
You're
got
not gonna
the,
see the ledge, but you're gonna see the slope.
okay. So Sean, do you feel like you've got sort of clear marching orders there?
Absolutely.
All right, great.
I sat up in there one day and it scared me. No, I went about 300 feet and I think there was 4 culverts.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
started to go
That's what
broad
you
road
figured
up
there'd
in there or
have to be.
something, yeah.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, Sean, for coming over and we'll look forward to hearing from you. What do you think, ballpark, in terms of when?
Trying to get to you this week, because I'm on vacation next.
Okay,
So if it's not this week, it'd be.
well, that'd be super, because then we could look at that maybe at our next meeting. That'd be great.
Okay.
Thank you, thanks.
Great.
Okay, good.
Talk about the dates.
Yeah, well, we had talked, I don't know, Sean did want to touch base about the dates. in
For
terms
the,
of- For the RFP to go out.
for the bridge work.
For
Yeah.
the covered bridge work. And that's something that I think we had talked about in terms of making a decision as to when the town wanted to go to construction.
And that's where I was saying to you that in the September 14th meeting, we might have a more complete discussion about that. I mean, I suppose we could have that discussion now, but I feel like we hadn't really planned for that. We've got a lot of other stuff on the agenda, I'm sorry to say so.
Okay, that's fine. Okay.
Yeah, so September 14th we would do, and in fact, if we had that proposal, that'd be part of the whole picture. We'd probably look at it all together then, although they are two separate. Okay, great.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And we're gonna jump now down to Jeremiah, son from the Lister's office. Yeah, just come on up. Ian can swivel his camera, but, yeah. That's great.
Alright, I think I sent out an email, but I put a copy of what essentially the listers have filed their abstract RAN list, and we came across 2 errors in the last week regarding 2 properties in town. One, we'll start off with new legislation passed by the state in regards to photovoltaic. That's the first paragraph. LaRock site, when they actually, Brenda LaRock brought it to my attention that she thought her solar site wasn't, well, she thought it had to be reduced in tax, and when I looked at the new legislature, it's actually, their system no longer qualifies as of January 1st, 2015. So there's 35,950 on that site, and effectively now it'll just become exempt. And so I need the, I don't know.
Can I have a clarification though? I'm confused. You said her site no longer qualifies
Correct.
for the exemption?
No longer qualifies to be taxed, sorry, I
Oh, thank
misspoke
you.
At the
there.
No, that's
state level?
okay.
At the state level, because it's a 22.5 kilowatt system, and the new legislature put the limit at 50,000.
So
kW.
anything under
Under.
50,000 is no longer billed, you don't have to
No,
pay the state, you
right.
don't have to, okay.
Essentially, the listers and the tax assessing, they don't have me tax that,
I see.
which could change, but right now,
So the
it's
value,
always changing.
so the
'Cause
value
before
goes
that-
down 35.9.
35,950, yeah.
So why don't you tell us about the second one too, and then we can maybe just
Okay.
do it in one motion.
Alright, and then, the Lister's office, last year, the Guilford Community Church purchased a mobile home that abutted the church, and, they had their taxes abated last year, and I don't have the figure in front of me, but it's the 45 plus the 22,940, which is about 67, say 69.
68.
68. The land qualifies for exemption because it's associated with the church. The prior year, the land didn't qualify because it was owned by, I don't know, I think it was owned by the bank, but it was owned by somebody else. So the department neglected to make the land exempt. So I'm proposing that 45,800 be made exempt on their tax bill. But the improvements of the mobile home, which is $22,940, would remain on the tax bill because it does not qualify for exemption.
And even though they've intended to get it off, it's still there.
Supposedly there's a contract now, so
Yeah.
hopefully they can get that rectified. But as of April 1st, the building was still there, so it is taxable.
Any questions for Jeremiah? So then he needs a motion from the board to approve those corrections.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
So just, these new KW, Jeremiah, just to make it clear, any solar project that's going in, it can go in and be not taxed,
Correct.
unless it's a 50,
Right, if
50
it's
kW.
over 50 kW, and I know we have some solar projects coming in. I've been
two,
aware.
but there's 4 coming in, but
Potential.
there's 2 that's gonna be.
Correct. And
50
I was
kW.
speaking to Ann before the meeting. Since before we didn't have anything that qualified, so I'm looking at the legislature now, and then and I'm willing to come back to another meeting and explain it to the select board.
I think it might be good for us to have a little primer about
And
it.
I'll go on the numbers that they have proposed, and so then you'll have an idea of what the tax value will be. I can tell you right now, the first 50 is exempt. It's still, so if it's 150 kW, the first 50 will be exempt, and so then 100 is taxable.
Right.
And they do it on a cash flow equation, which I think it's.
Yeah.
Anyway, I can tell you what it will be. I'll just tell you the value. The department right now, the listers, we're trying to collect the information in case it were to ever change. So whenever we're on, so they might only have like a 5K system, but when we do site assessments, we try to take that information down because it's an ever-changing. I mean,
They're
who
popping
knows?
up all over the place, even the ones on people's homes and stuff like that.
Right, and so, I mean, I'm not saying, but most things that just changed, especially with solar, because first off, it wasn't taxable, then it was 5K, and then now it's only 50 kW, so it's just easier to have the information, and whatever they decide to do, we can do is, in the lister's office.
Thank you very much, Jeremiah.
Thanks, Jeremiah.
Thank you.
So I'll schedule a time to
Yeah,
come
yeah,
back
great.
and visit with y'all.
Okay, thanks. Susan, you're up for Conservation Commission. Thanks for being here, and thanks so much for being patient. Appreciate it.
Thank you for giving us Gabby. She's a fabulous
You're the
to
liaison?
Conservation
Yes,
Commission.
yes.
The Conservation Commission's for a long time has been talking about doing a natural resources inventory. And it's come up more frequently, and after we've gotten some projects a little bit under control, we decided what we'd like to do is apply for a municipal planning grant in order to do this natural resource inventory, which is an ecological inventory. And it's a systematic and comprehensive assessment by an expert who has training and experience doing inventories, and it would take a look at Guilford's plants and plant communities, animal communities, not just looking for rare or endangered species, but primarily getting a clear picture on what Guilford has, what the land is like, what the different communities, natural communities are, what are our areas that both people and an expert looking at it feels are really special. What are the places that potentially we might want to preserve or encourage preserve? We don't have regulations, so we don't necessarily preserve it, but we could be in conversation with people about their land, and landowners could be more informed about what the ecological communities are within their own property. This is just in a nutshell. We'd apply for a grant, we'd find out whether we got it in December. If we got it, we'd put out a request for proposal. And then we would hire a professional. There are a few people in Vermont who do it and seem to be quite good. And that person would need about a year and a half, maybe a little bit longer, to do the online research, to do the community work, working with landowners and citizens who are interested in finding out about our natural resources. A lot of people really know their land in this community, and they would be a big help. Then there would be field work, priorities would be set up on where to go and where to look. Guilford's geographically a big town, so obviously no one's going to go out and walk the entire community, but there would be a list of priorities to go to with the help of landowners, and the field work would be done after several months of doing the online research, because there's a lot online that's available. And the reason it's important is because it can assist the town, not just the select board, but the planning commission, conservation commission, and other town volunteers and administrators in advising developers who have projects they'd like to do, help them find the right site for things. The solar projects are a good example. Where's the best place to put them? What's the best access to them to do the most damage, to ecological damage, but also damage to the area and the landowners, and a lot of things like this. The solar issue is coming up now, but there are going to be other projects people are going to want to do. So the ecological knowledge of the community will help us as a community advise people and encourage people on how to do the projects, where they need to be sited, where there's sensitive areas they shouldn't be sited, and also help landowners who are interested in just knowing their land better.
Susan, what's the, how does the finances work? This is a municipal planning grant. Is there a certain amount that you're going for? Is there a match by the town?
Yes. We're probably going to ask for $15,000, and anything over $8,000 would require a match. So if it was $15,000, that means the $7,000 would need a 30% match. I think Gabby may have written it out for you too.
Yeah.
Makes it a little
These were
easier.
handouts. So the match, did you tell the match would be $2,310?
If it was
In the 2017 budget, fiscal
Yes.
year budget?
Right, it would be at the end of the cycle. Let's say we got it. And you know, the municipal planning grants have 3 periods where you report back to the state and send in your bills, and you get a certain amount of money. Then they do it again in the middle, and they do it towards the end. And it was at the end of the project that the town match would be needed. So if we got it, we wouldn't need it in this budget. It'd be the next budget.
So the 18 budget?
Well,
No,
17, because it would be, if we got it, we got started, let me see, if it was, we're in the FY16, right?
Right.
FY17 would begin next year. It probably would be in the FY17, we need it, but it might be. It
18.
might creep over,
But we know it won't be in
Into-
FY16.
right.
Did you have a question, Katie?
No, I was simply gonna say that some of the money may already exist to help cover the match.
Oh. that's
You know
nice.
where?
Maybe. The same sort of application as we used for the library fund.
Reserve fund.
Yeah, there's money that was moved from prior year.
Okay.
Unspent expenses that the board had approved. In that same memo, you'll see other line items, same thing.
So regardless of where the money's coming from, what we do know is that we don't need to worry about it in this budget year. And do you need our blessing to apply for this grant?
We need your approval of the project conceptually, that you feel it's important enough to do. It is also in, you know, as Sheila knows, it's in the
It's
town plan.
definitely in the town plan.
All kinds of sightings that we're
Thanks,
gonna do
Lyle.
this. And especially as our climate little by little changes, this kind of information will be very helpful. We can't guarantee that we would ask for 15,000. Maybe we would ask for 18,000, so that'd mean the match would be 3,300. But after we get the grant is not, the application is not due until September 30th. So you would know before then what our total project cost would be. Now, if we get the grant, we'd find out in December. There's some smaller grants we could apply for, and we could that would also help. You know.
Jog my memory, was it Conservation Committee or the Planning Commission, the young gentleman came down from the state and did all of this ecological stuff, remember? And he showed us.
Oh, that was Jens, yes.
Yes,
Uh,
which, planning or
It was
conservation?
well, it was a conservation commission. I think he came down twice. Youngest guy came with his computer and projected
Yeah,
maps
and
and
all
stuff.
different.
Yeah, he's the one we worked with on this because we really wanted to be sure if we were to do this that it was useful.
That's what I was wondering if it'd be
Right.
him, yeah.
Yeah, we don't want to do something that's going to end up on a shelf. That after this is over, if we get it and we go through, we get the inventory, then we need, don't need a grant necessarily, but we need an implementation plan on how to get this information really out to the committees and to towns and citizens, and really give people a chance to look at. There are a lot of people in this town who have knowledge, natural resource knowledge. There are a lot of people who know their land a lot. You know, the interest in the Trails Committee is just an example of how many people are out in these hills and woods that are interested in knowing about the town.
Any other questions for Susan?
Yes.
Sheila?
So, so I commend the Conservation Commission for being on top of this municipal planning grant, because I know there was at least one other entity that wanted to apply for a municipal planning grant, and the town, as I understand it, can only apply for one. Do you know for how, until when another entity in town might be able to apply for another grant?
Good question.
I was reading about that today because Michelle and I talked a little bit like that. Like, if
Mhm.
we get one, does that mean the town won't be eligible to get one in the next
Mhm.
year or two? It's not clear, but what they do is they take a look at a town, and if a town, I'll try to remember to find that designation and email it to you. But if you have two towns that are tied, they'll give it to the town who has the greatest need. Let's say there's a project they wanted to update a town plan and they haven't done it in a long time and they really need to get to it and they really need help.
Mm-hmm.
They might choose that one before another town like Guilford, who's pretty on top of these things.
Mm-hmm.
But looks like it's only if there's a tie.
So that's a competition in the
Right.
same year, but what about
I'll be the next
in
year.
next year?
The next year.
Next year, yes.
That'd be
Would
the next year.
another town organization be able to apply for a municipal planning grant if
Yes,
Guilford already received one the year before?
yes,
There's not like a 2-year wait period or anything.
Okay.
right.
And so for somewhere between an investment of $2,300 and $3,300, Guilford will get an assessment of its natural resources that the Conservation Commission will then work to make sure is available to the residents and somehow heeded by residents.
Right. Well, at least understood by residents. Well, one of the other goals that's in the town plan is to try to, Conservation Commission, and this wouldn't be part of this, but as a follow-up, wants to start some sort of library, lending material library for landowners, and that sort of thing. And this could be a first step towards that.
Yeah.
If we get it, you know, it's very competitive, these grants, and there could be a whole bunch of other towns in Wyndham County applying and we wouldn't get one. But it's good to do it and try it.
So I think, did we get a motion on this and then we've had discussion? I think, or have we had a motion? I think.
I don't think we have.
Okay, so would anybody be willing to make a motion for approving the idea of the Conservation Commission applying for this municipal planning grant?
So moved.
Seconded.
Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Do you need a second motion to agree to produce a match if required?
I think that might be,
Implicit in the grant.
I think it's kind of implicit in the grant. I don't think so. No, I think that's kind of, if we get the grant, we understand the conditions of the grant, so yeah.
Okay.
You make that motion if you want, I think Ann's
It's
right,
not
it's not
necessary.
needed, it's not necessary.
Yeah, I think once you get it in December, Conservation Commission will just come back to the board and say, we received.
Yeah, and especially because we're talking about in a different fiscal year, makes it a lot
Right.
easier. Okay, thank you,
The
Susan.
planning commission is the one who has to actually, the signature on it, so, next week I'll talk to the planning commission and, we don't have to ask them for money, but we want to get their approval of this next week.
Who's writing the grant?
I'm writing a draft and, that I've started on it now. Of course, most of the commission is on vacation, but Gabby and I are working together, and then the next step would be to send it out to the planning commission and anyone else who wants to look at what we've done, to just talk about content, and then the editing piece will come later.
Okay.
And then I'll work with Wyndham Regional on the budget.
Okay, I was gonna ask, are you gonna have them do administration of it?
Well,
'Cause that
after,
might not be, I can talk to you about it after if you'd like.
yes, they can't do the writing, but they will certainly,
Because they charge a fee for that.
they charge a fee for the
We need to move
administration.
on, so.
I
Yeah,
can talk- I
yeah,
can talk
well,
to you
talk
about
to me
it.
about
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, okay.
So, capital program and budget policy, and I'm sure everybody did their homework. Some of the stuff is in PDF files, and you have copies, right, of the various documents that we looked at?
Of the policy that you were gonna look at the last
Right, right. So why don't we get those passed around, and then we can, see if there are any questions, thank you.
I had mine
Oh, you do?
from last week, yeah.
And then the other piece that goes with that was more of just a,
Our
Informational about the year-end
because
policy,
of a
right?
timeline, but it was, it's kind of pulling everybody together to get the financials kind of as
Sure.
for this.
I had mine.
Okay, so, I did have a concern that I'm gonna try to find. And it had to do with the need for a public hearing. I'm trying to figure out where that was.
Oh, it might be in,
I've seen that somewhere, Dan.
Yeah. What else did we have? It wasn't in the fiscal year end. Let me just pull up my computer. There were four documents attached. But this is one I'm gonna look at
It
right
had to
now.
do with the balanced budget and the reserve fund.
Okay,
Right.
that's separate. Okay, thank you, because that was where I saw that. So anybody have any concerns or questions about the proposed capital program and budget policy?
so the only thing is that last time meeting, we talked about having our accountant review this policy to make sure that everything was kosher.
Mhm.
And I asked the CFO that I used to work with what she thought of this, and she thought it was perfect.
Oh,
So
good.
I didn't ask, I don't know if our town
Stop right there.
accountant looked at it, but she thought it was really good. She liked, she thought everything worked well. So
And I'm assuming you're working off the draft from VLCT and modified it to,
this is something that Becky pulled together for
This
us.
is actually, it's a combination of things, but it was something that was in the works
Yeah, some time
a
ago.
couple
And
years ago.
mhm.
I think that, it's too bad Matt's gone, because I think the regional idea was that the planning commission does this capital plan, not the select board.
Oh, interesting.
They work in conjunction
Yeah.
with.
Well, yeah, it's definitely gonna be in conjunction, but I think the primary participant would be the planning commission.
I mean, one of the things that I like about this and about the assessment is that, we've run into a few sort of situations, unanticipated problems with leaking here and there and things like that. And I think it would be helpful if we had the sense of the state of everything and we could prioritize, much like Danny does with the equipment, that we could then, not be caught by surprise.
Yeah, and that's why it's more than just putting a name on a piece of paper, that's gotta be looked at. and
Well, then we've got to
evaluated.
create, then we've got to go do the analysis and
Which
do it.
is
Yeah.
steps that Becky and I then went and created. So, Dick, it does refer to the town plan under the priority criteria on the back. It says the project has to meet a policy goal or fulfill the strategic objective of the select board in the town plan, so.
All right, yeah, okay. And the town plan, yep.
Any other questions or discussions? People have any concerns? And as you say, Dick, then from here, this puts in place, or into motion, some steps, yeah. So if there's not, if we're good with this, and then I would entertain a motion to adopt it.
You looked at it, Dan? This has nothing to do with you.
He already does all this stuff.
Yeah, he did. This is
He's-
really, I mean,
he's
it's
our-
really kind of.
he's our model.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, thank
It's probably memorializing the process.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah. I move that we adopt the capital program and budget policy as drafted.
Seconded.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, should we take one of these and just make it our sign copy? Pass it around?
Mine's a mess, so.
Mine is clean as a whistle.
I was working on it. I'm working,
What's
Becky
the
and I are
date
working on the
today?
time with Katie.
Today is the 10th, until midnight.
Will you post that on the website?
Yes, along
It's
with
got
all the
all
other
the-
policies.
It's a policy, no. They're
No,
not posted on the
sorry.
website.
It's the ordinances that are posted. Want to take this one?
You're gonna
Pat?
post a policy on it?
No, the ordinances and bylaws, but not the policies,
I don't
because
think
they're
we have.
internal control.
I think we should also, we also asked everybody to look at the guidelines that we talked about this next
That we're-
schedule, and I don't know if anybody had any comments.
The fiscal year end or
Yeah. The fiscal year end 2015.
Mhm. Which directly ties in and relates to this, the 5-year capital budget
Right.
plan.
Sorry, Dick. Some of this is already done, but this is basically how we were gonna proceed. Just for
I
everybody.
thought this was good. I think it's interesting. It felt to me a little bit, I mean, in a good way, like holding our feet to the fire. That
Mhm.
each thing follows one, the things in a sort of a pretty purposeful sequence.
Yeah.
And I was just gonna say, I was talking to Becky about this, when we went over it today, and when I deal with the maintenance of the buildings that I have to deal with, that, I rely a lot on my vendors and my maintenance guys. So I think there's people we can use in town to sort of assess things,
Mhm.
like maybe, like Sean Murphy comes to mind,
Mhm.
to help with the assessment, without
Yeah.
having to bother, get a bunch of estimates from different vendors and then not necessarily hire them. So
Right.
that was the only thing that came to mind.
Yeah, that
Thank
you
you.
have your people that you use just
Right.
as advisors, not as.
Yeah, and I couldn't
vendors.
assess a building without them, that's for sure.
Yeah. Any other comments? So my question for you then, this is a draft really just for discussion. There's not a need to adopt this.
No, it's just
Yeah,
kind of our
yeah.
work plan.
Yeah.
I think for.
Good. So I'm gonna move on. October meeting schedule. And the reason that's on the agenda is because our October meeting falls, as it often does, on Columbus Day. Can I use your calendar again?
Are we not prepared?
No, I forgot my purse at home.
I love saying that to a teacher.
So, and that is Monday, October 12th. I have work on that Wednesday. We usually move the meeting from Monday to Wednesday when it's falls on a holiday. From Monday to Wednesday, and I would like to propose that we either move it to Tuesday morning or the Friday before. I checked with Peter, he said warrants could be done if we wanted to do it the Friday before, that could work. And there's plenty of notice, obviously, because we're out. You're gonna be gone this week following, but not the Friday before, right? Oh, you are, so you're gone.
I leave the night of the 8th.
Okay, so either way, Troy's not gonna be here. So, do people have a preference? I would say if we did it Friday, we would do it obviously during the day. Is that a possibility for you?
Possibly, but it seems like either one is gonna be during the day.
Yes, actually, that's
So-
correct. Yes. We
Can we
could
do it over a lunch hour to,
Yeah, I can work my
Ease.
schedule around it if I have enough, but
enough
yeah.
time in advance?
Yeah.
What about actually doing it on Columbus Day?
Well, there's that too, and
Yeah.
that's a possibility,
I mean,
doing it on
it's-
Columbus Day.
It's not a,
It's a federal holiday.
Is it a federal holiday? Yeah, I mean, it
School's
is,
closed
it's,
for everything.
school's closed, the schools
Yeah.
didn't used to be closed, come on, they never were on Columbus Day
Veterans
for
I would
years.
say we can move it.
All the time.
I'm easy, any day, we can,
I would say, yeah, I don't have a preference.
Working
Side
person, you
I'm
have,
not the one that prepares the warrants, so that would,
they could do those in advance, so they wouldn't.
it really has to work around Dan's schedule too, because the fair is, there'll be away to the fair, won't you, Killington? Like that Friday before, that Thursday and Friday before.
Oh, all right, so then
Town
the
fair?
Columbus Day would be better.
I probably won't go to that in town here. But like this week, I came in Thursday and did them Thursday so they could get them done Thursday afternoon, so.
So what is your pleasure? What
it's
would
only
work?
October 8th, the town
Yeah.
fair.
It's just working around.
Yeah,
what-
so
what to look
the
up.
Monday evening, fine with me.
Fine with me, yeah.
Gabby?
Monday evening?
Yeah, actually Columbus Day evening.
How does Ian feel about that?
With toes in the water?
No, you cannot.
I mean-
We used to always do that and we stopped because it was a problem potentially for employees, really, you know, or sometimes people had family gatherings and things.
I had
Becky
answered,
technically off on that? I
Yes.
mean, that's my question. Is Becky
Yeah.
She does.
technically off? So do we
Be
want to
away
make
at some point, I'm not sure.
come in?
Okay.
I mean, I'd rather not have her come in on a federal, you know, like on a designated
Yeah.
holiday.
Yeah. I mean, I can do Friday, I can do Monday, I can do Tuesday morning, or Tuesday noon, I have to
Yeah,
leave.
Tuesday, yeah.
Do you wanna do Tuesday at noon?
Sure.
Richard, does that work for you?
I don't care.
Okay, so, I don't think we need a motion or anything, but let's just schedule the meeting for Tuesday at noon.
I had ancestors on the Mayflower.
Yeah, well, yeah, it will be warned, we've got plenty.
So I had ancestors on the Mayflower a long time
You
ago.
did?
Yeah.
So actually, I think
Yeah.
let's get a motion to move the meeting from Monday to Tuesday.
Yeah,
Anybody
because
want-
technically in the town book, it says if the meeting falls on a Monday, it's gonna be held the following Wednesday.
Yes,
So you need, I believe you do need a motion to make it on
It
Tuesday.
needs to be obviously posted.
right, would you make that motion, sir?
No, because I'm not gonna be here.
You can still make the motion.
I move,
I move that we instead, Monday the 12th is a federal holiday, and instead of not being able to have the meeting on Wednesday, we're gonna have it on Tuesday.
At noon,
At noon.
Tuesday the 13th. Is there a second for that?
Is that confusing?
Second?
Yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you all so much, I appreciate it. No, you should know.
Why not?
Okay, thank you, Dan, for waiting, highway update, we're on to you.
I got the blacktop bids back today.
Mhm.
I don't know if Becky gave you a copy of who was what.
No, we'd love to just hear from you.
Out of the four companies, 3 of them sent bids back.
Okay,
Lane was the highest at $91.45 a ton.
91.45 a ton?
Yep. And their shoulder work was at $60 a ton. And their estimated total job was $168,359.50. Then Warner Brothers, they were $85 a ton. And their shoulder work was at $40 a ton. And with the estimated shoulder work and blacktop, it was $152,250. And Vermont Road Works was at $81.20 a ton. And their shoulder work was at $34.55. And the estimated job was $40,622.50.
you mean 145?
140.
Got me.
140. 622.50.
Okay, so the question I have, it's just always the question I have when you have that big of a range. Like how come there's such a big range?
Because some are running on different tonnage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got, the Lane was at 1,700 tons. Warner Brothers was at 1,650.
Because that's what they estimate needing.
Yeah, and then Vermont Roads was at 1,685.
Dan, is Vermont Roadworks a newer entity?
Yes, it's a guy here in town.
Yeah.
He's-
So they're maybe a little
So they
hungrier.
want the business, have you ever worked with them before?
Yeah, he did some shipping for me this summer on some of the worst spots.
Chipping?
He did some shimming.
Shimming,
Yeah,
sorry.
you know, some of the bad spots that we had, it was,
Like
He's out
what?
there with a putter.
I did that all.
That too, right?
No, he picked up a lot of town work around, so,
Yeah, he's done the Vernon Fire Department,
yeah.
the
So
parking lot and
he
stuff like
got
that.
Halifax, Whitingham,
Yep.
Jacksonville, Reedsboro, he got quite a few
Wilmington,
down, so.
Stanford, all up
Yeah.
through there.
So,
One of the reasons why the mix is hot, Lane just lost their
Yeah.
control room down in,
Yeah,
I'm sorry, they lost what?
their control room
Yeah.
that
Big
runs
fire.
the asphalt plant, that caught a fire.
Oh,
So all their mix, Lane's mix is gonna be coming out of Walpole. Warner Brothers is coming out of South Deerfield. And of course, Vermont Roadworks will get his out of, I'm assuming, it'll come out of Walpole. So it's, you're gonna be paying, if it was for the trucking, is what's gonna, it's cost.
How come he's so, the question is, he's about 100 ton lighter on the shoulder work.
Yeah, he is a little lighter on shoulder work, but it's, all depends on what they use.
And that's still, the quality is still good, that's what you're getting
Yeah,
at.
yeah. Even the mix, all that is just a rough estimate. You know, it could be over a couple hundred ton, or it could be under a couple hundred ton, all depends on how much when they start shipping.
so this isn't a firm bid, this is an estimate of what it would
This is
take to
just
do
an
the
estimate.
project.
Okay,
We
so-
did a lump sum years ago, and if they come under a couple, 300, 400, 500 ton, guess what? You're
You
paying
still pay
that.
for it,
You're still
right,
paying
and
for it.
if we go over,
If you go over, we pay, at least I know we're getting mixed,
yeah.
you know, so.
Good questions, any other questions?
Is there a contingency or a not to exceed on any of these?
They're usually, I stay with them, they keep it close, they can gauge it so they can come out pretty close.
And the tonnage, in your experience, they're pretty, like the
They're-
ones that
they're-
they're estimating is, it seems pretty much
Yeah.
what
The-
sounds
the-
right.
The biggest thing is when they do the shim, you know, some of the spots down through here has got some pretty deep wheel ruts. So they'll be dragging the screen, breaking stone in the ground, and then where the wheel ruts are, they could be putting in 4 inches of mix just to get it level, so I mean. So that's where it usually sometimes eats up quite a bit, is on the shim. Then when they get on the top, they can do it, figure it out, so they can come right on the money, so.
Do I hear a motion? Anybody want to have further discussion?
I would think that being local and seeing the work that Vermont Roads has done, that if you approve them, it would be,
I would.
they would be the Vermont Roads.
Second.
So the motion is to hire Vermont Road Works for the paving work to be done, and it's seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Dan, thanks for your work on that, and thanks for
Yeah,
this.
I will
Becky, did
contact
you do
everybody
this?
and let them know who.
Yeah, him and I worked
got
together,
what.
I think it's-
Thank you, this was very helpful.
Yeah.
This was helpful. Thank you. All right, anything else to report, Dan?
No, I've just got some rough roads again, I'm gonna get some rain, we'll be doing some grading again.
I hope we're gonna get rain tomorrow.
Yeah.
I hope-
Supposed to.
Somebody said we were supposed to get it.
Yeah,
So, but
yeah,
I hope it don't rain that hard.
yeah.
I do have some projects I gotta get done. I got 2 culverts, one on Weatherhead Hollow Road, and I have one down below the Old Town Garage. And then I got my guard railing to do, and unfortunately, it's gonna be right in school time when we're doing all this, so there's gonna be some delays. And when we do the culvert on the Hollow Road, I'm gonna close the road down, advertise it, and I'm gonna just get a machine in there, and we're just gonna dig it up and get the culvert in, so we can get traffic going over it in 3 or 4 hours, so. But I'll let everybody know what's going on, I'll get our signs out and.
Good.
So,
Thank you.
welcome.
Any other questions for Dan? Do we have we have a weight permit?
No, we have the salt and the.
Oh, right, thank you.
Yeah, we all about that.
This is the salt, that's the chip seal, so.
Okay.
So last week, Dan just brought this in and laid it on the thing to let us know. And this is the crack filling on all our hardball roads, blacktop roads for some people, without the areas that's going to be re-shimmed with the paving and everything like that. And this is with Tri-State asphalt sealing. And it's for $43,211.20. Okay.
And I don't believe we made a motion on that at the
No,
last
we
meeting.
did not.
Yeah,
Just said we were gonna table it for
Yeah.
this one, so.
right.
Budget?
Got it.
Yes.
It's in the
Yeah.
Yeah,
budget,
it's
yeah.
budgeted every year.
Yes.
We have to do it.
Tri-State has been in, like a sole source vendor. They're a local company. They've done this for us for years, and all local employees, and really they're the only game in the greater area. So.
Yeah. I would like to make the motion that we run with the proposal from Tri-State Asphalt Sealing for the crack filling. This is just crack filling, right, Danny?
Yeah.
Okay. For $43,211.20.
Second?
Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
I would like to say something else, that, our surplus that we had left over last year from the highways, I would like to see rolled over into this year's to cover quite a bit.
And that is, one of the nice things about the highway budget is they, as opposed to use it or lose it, they can roll money over.
Right.
It's like 80,000
Is that going for the truck?
that we had left over.
Mm-hmm.
Was that earmarked for something?
No.
No,
it's just-
okay.
Yeah.
That's just
It's just money we didn't
stuff what
spend.
we had for the highway where we didn't spend.
Do you envision spending it for, do you,
Yeah, we're gonna need it for all this other work, so.
No, so let's, so,
On the second day.
did we approve, I know we had a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, great. And I'm not sure that that's where, I need to sign, I see Chris has signed on the second page, so I think oh, okay, thank you. So now going to the salt proposal.
We got and this is the state bid, Danny?
This we're through the state contract.
Okay, state contract for the salt.
You wanna go with item 1, I believe it is.
Yes, it's item 1, but how much is it?
85.30.
85.13. Man, that is some small writing. Estimated 400 ton
Sorry.
for $85.13.
You didn't have any trouble reading that last year, Troy.
Last year was 84.63, I think.
Right, and this is the same place where we got it last year, right?
Yeah. right-
Barrett
they-
struck it down and everything
yeah,
like
Right
that.
through the state district.
So I would
So
like
it's up, but you know, there it is.
it's up like $1, a little under $1, right?
Yeah.
I would like to make the motion that we go with the state bid through Cargill for $85.13 a ton.
Yes.
How much are we gonna get?
About
That's-
roughly 400 tons.
400 ton.
Okay, thank you, I didn't see it.
Yeah, roughly 400 ton.
Is there a second?
second?
Any discussion, questions? All in favor?
Aye.
And the reason we go with, just to let the new members know, the reason we go with option 1 is we are locked in for 400 ton.
Got it.
If we don't, we're not guaranteed the 400 ton.
Mm-hmm.
So
What if we don't order 400 tons?
Then you don't spend.
then you don't spend your money, and then if somebody else, say like Halifax, for example, if they ordered 400 ton and we ran out of salt and we needed salt, they would get theirs before we got ours.
Got it.
So we
That's
go with. We like salt on some roads in the wintertime, Gabby.
All right, anything else, Dan?
No, just that, I don't know if
Oh, this is the Weatherhead Hollow,
yes.
and,
She was supposed to fax us a letter.
Oh, yeah.
and that did not come in?
I have not seen it yet.
Okay, so I think we're not gonna act on this until we get a letter,
No.
so, okay.
But you can, unless the letter came in,
This is the road right here,
Yeah.
So they're
and it's
putting that,
3 foot 8 inches off that road.
so they're putting that north of the existing barn? So
There's
if
one
you,
right
if you
there.
pulled out of the fairgrounds and headed north on
Yes.
Riverhead Hollow, you go
That's where the
past the
gate-
barn.
yeah, it's where the apron used to come out from the barn doors, is what it is.
That's where they're gonna scoop the van in. See, I was hoping that they were gonna pull it in over here. I didn't know it was going along the road, but the ramp is gonna
It's
run
be-
parallel
it's
to the
gonna be
road.
3 foot 8 from the from the white line.
So we're gonna hold off on this though till we get a letter from them, till it's on the agenda, so, yeah, we can put that away. But, any excess weight permits? Okay. So finance.
No.
Whose turn is it?
I'm gonna throw her under the bus again. No, not really. I would like to make the following motion, that we pay payroll of 8/3 for $5,688.63. Payroll of 8/9 for $6,540.02, for a total of payroll of $12,228.65. Along with that motion, warrant number 3 for $33,238.46. Warrant number 3DP, which is the wildlife, for $87. For a total of warrants of $33,325.46. For a total of warrants and payroll of $45,554.11. That's a mouthful, ain't it?
I'm sure Gabby's gonna second that.
I will second it because he did it so nicely.
Right.
All in favor?
Aye.
Here are the warrants, and Troy's got the payroll. Communications, and before we start the official communications, I just want to share two things that are kind of communications. One, because Troy hadn't known, Mike Fair, who was a reporter from the Reformer, I think people have noticed he's not been here. He was fired by the Reformer, I think as a cost-cutting measure, but we feel bad for the Reformers that they're trying to manage with two reporters at this time. And also, Mike was a good reporter and did a good job. And
He was.
I wrote him and told him to that effect that we...
You wrote a nice note to him.
Yeah, so I just wanted to bring that up. The other thing is I got a communication, there's no action on this net yet, but Gail Nunziata emailed me about the fact that the weather at Hollow Pond is kind of growing in, the weeds, lily pads and stuff, it's really being overtaken by the greenery, and she wasn't sure what to do about it. And I encouraged her to write Fish and Wildlife, it's a state park. I wasn't sure, and it's not on the agenda, but you guys can think about if you want to take an action as a board to encourage we have a few connections from our work with Sweet Pond up there, if we want to write to them and just notice it. We certainly have a lot of other priorities, and if we don't, that's fine, but that's just put your thinking caps on. We're not gonna, I'll forward to you Gail's email so you know what it was about. But go ahead with the rest of the communications then, so.
I had forwarded the item back, the communication back and forth on the park area.
Is that the Wellesley, the...
Behind the Guilford Grange.
Oh, no, sorry, right, okay,
The
yeah.
land that was donated, and I did it kind of waiting, expecting at some point to be getting something from the league, and sure enough, the letter came in from the league this week wondering, because they haven't heard back from us since the April site visit, because we have 30 or 60 days to respond, and of course we haven't because no action's been taking place on it. So I talked with Wade earlier in the week, and then I emailed Jim Carey back at the league. And so Andy, that has kind of taken the lead on the project, he knows the action plans that need to happen. And that's where things are right now, and I don't have anything else to report.
And is that land being used right now?
The email that came through from Andy said that the library camp possibly used the space, and that was something that I explained to Andy, that is not part of what, once we've identified the hazards, the land should not be open to the public.
Until those hazards are
Until
mitigated.
it's- Right, so that's where that is right now. We had an email from, a letter that went out from Richard Davis to do with property on Johnson pasture, a rental inspection that he had done. So he's following up, and I think he had talked with you about it. So feel free to look that over. Did you see it? No.
It was another one really where we were informing him that this is really not either a public health official situation or select board. So it's an issue with two people that we're not involved with.
DEC had sent an application that they're reviewing a pump tank that's going on Coolidge Highway on Route 5 within 50 feet of a brook. We do have a project review from A&R on the campground, 182 acres.
I actually wanted to ask about that campground thing. It's apparently for 6 units, and it's 182 acres, and it's is it a Act 250, Becky thing? Oh, you've got it now. I think it's it falls under Act 250.
Act 250.
And I thought it's just a big kind of development thing that's happening in town, and maybe in the spirit of the town plan and what's happening in town, they should be invited to come before the select board to describe what they're doing up there. Or out there.
If there's an Act 250 hearing, we of course have party status, and we
Yeah.
can go to that as well.
But nobody's, I mean, this is something, they've just gone through the permits, their request has been granted, they've got a permit. But we just don't.
But they have an Act
nobody-
250 permit.
Yeah, nobody, that's granted by the state.
And so,
And nobody in, I mean, I don't know who in town knows what's happening to this 182.
And I thought I brought up
acre.
at the last meeting, if it was a commercial venture, which it sounds like, it probably would kick in at the Act 250, and we should be party
Well,
to it.
they have their, I think this says they've got their Act 250 permit
Yeah.
already. But what I'm saying is,
are you sure? Because we weren't given any
If
notification.
that's just a project review sheet, it'll say Act 250 permit is required. It's not approved, because you guys would have gotten a whole host of communication.
yeah, we've had a couple, not
Oh,
a
you
lot.
get a lot.
Did the planning commission?
No, the planning
Yeah.
commission got the same communication, and it just seems appropriate to ask them, because now the town plan says, if there's gonna be a big development in town, people should be informed, the town residents should be informed, and it seems to me that a way to inform people is to have them appear before the select board, because that's a more public meeting than the planning commission. I mean, the planning commission meeting is public, but it's not filmed, and
Any comments on this?
I'm just wondering whether it makes sense for them to maybe talk to the people in the
Oh,
planning
it's a,
commission and
yeah, it's required.
Required.
Yeah.
and for the planning commission to maybe make recommendations? Is that what, I mean, I'm still a little fuzzy what all the different commissions do, but is that appropriate for the planning commission to give us guidance
so we're
as to the
both,
planning
so
of
the town is a party, the select board is
Oh,
a
automatically,
And the
right.
planning commission is.
The planning commission has been
Both
notified.
notified, yeah.
Yeah.
They receive communication.
So I think either party could request the owners to, or the projected owners to appear. But it seems to me that it might make more sense for the select board to ask them to give a small presentation or a brief presentation, or to write
The only
and explain what they're doing.
Yeah, they have a wastewater permit, but they don't have an Act 250 permit.
I mean, I don't think they have any obligation to come to the select board.
Yeah.
None at all.
No,
I mean,
there
we could
isn't.
invite them.
That's what I'm saying, we should
Yeah.
invite them
Yeah.
to describe what they're doing, because the town plan now says large development
Yeah.
projects in town, the town will be advised what's happening, just be able to understand what's going on.
Yeah. I mean, I guess the town plan is advisory, so we can't force them.
There's nothing we can do.
But
She
it
just
would
is
be
saying
nice,
to
yeah,
be
maybe
informed.
can the planning commission be there? Because what I would like is also to have, the planning commission
I mean, yes, we
guide
can-
us and, that, I mean,
So what I would say is maybe we ask them to describe their project briefly in front of the planning commission and the select board.
Yeah, that's what's
or
what-
in
everyone can get
writing or
together,
in person.
in
Yeah.
the planning committee.
Being a commercial venture, wouldn't it be?
Did you read the project description out loud from that sheet? Because you have a public vehicle right here on this camera
It's 6 camping units.
Yeah,
That's what
it's
she's saying.
six camp.
It's a development of a 181 acre parcel with a campground consisting of 6 two-bedroom cabins and a mess hall for guests only.
What does that mean?
Sounds like a commercial venture, the town should be.
Oh, it's type of project is commercial right
Yeah.
here.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
that's
again,
what I'm
it's
saying.
all advisory. like
So I think that makes it.
How many people, so Sheila's kind of really put out a proposal that we invite them to come and describe their venture to the select board, and we invite the planning commission. Would people like to do that?
Sure, why not?
Yeah,
Definitely.
okay.
So actually, I'll move that we invite them to come explain their project to the planning commission and the select board, and that we share with them the town plan and some other documents that relate to this type of development in town.
Yeah.
Katie?
And I mean, just when they go through their Act 250 application process, they have to sort of show that it is in compliance with the town plan.
Yeah.
So they do have that burden, and that goes as a strike against them if it's not in compliance with the town plan, even though we don't have any regulatory oversight as a town in that
So
way.
it might be helpful to them as well as to us.
It would be good for any project to come and talk to the planning commission and the select board independently and separately to do that sort of outreach, for any project to do that, if they wanna get.
So there's a motion on the table, actually, Sheila made a motion to invite them. And I would assume it would be to the next select board meeting, August 27th, I think it is, or 24th?
Well, we could give them a couple dates. I mean,
Okay, 24th, September 14th, and there, whatever, the 28th is the next one, sure. Would you like Becky to?
Motion.
Okay. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so maybe Becky, you could reach out to them and say they'd love to hear more.
Are you coming to do the public hearing for the Wyndham Regional Commission on
On the 24th.
Maybe 6 o'clock on the 24th would be an ideal time.
Yeah, 'cause
Yeah, that
we have Ralph Winchester, and then the league is
There's
coming
nothing-
to do their wellness program.
Nothing in here.
We'll
It's
try to
got
do that.
wildlife or nothing.
I'm gonna try to do it for the 24th,
Okay.
right
They'll
at
address
6:30.
all that in the
Yeah.
Act 50 permit
Yeah.
process.
Yeah, okay, sounds good.
Yeah, thank you.
6:30.
Other communications?
It's a matter of getting hold of them.
Yeah.
The Wyndham Waste District has compost available to highways and parks and rec departments at $20 a cubic yard and to residents at 30.
Can I ask one quick question about the playscape? Is there a time by which the select board needs to do something, like respond to our insurers or?
Well, they had said within
30
60 days, but I would assume that would mean, otherwise we can't use it.
Okay.
So I think we're not supposed to use it until those conditions have been met, that's my
Okay.
understanding.
And is there a time by which the individual sort of managing the playscape can they give us a timeline or something so we know?
I shared the emails, that's all that I know, that they
Yeah.
had hoped to have everything, different phases done long before now. And
Interesting.
I mean, maybe can we ask them for a revised timeline? Would that be okay? Just so that we have a sense and maybe stay on top of them to help push it along so that this can be used?
Yeah, I agree with you there.
Yeah.
Yeah, one other thing, did you get a hold of Fairpoint?
No. I forgot. Still. Yeah, Fairpoint's had more problems in town too.
Yeah.
That's
Well, they
cool.
had a bunch of them, but that phone's gonna be in the river pretty quick.
Yeah, thank you for reminding me, I forgot about it. I think that's what the last time we is there a motion to go into executive session?
I'd like to make a motion that we go into executive session with the 5 select board members and the town clerk, Penny Marine.
Second?
Can we say what it's
To discuss personnel issue?
Personnel issue.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dan.
who made the second?
Just so you know, they have to.
No, I made the
every
motion.
single one of those.
I second.
Yeah,
Okay.
Sheila
You know
seconds.
how hard
Thank
that's
you.
gonna be for them to do as a little campground?
7:55, thank you. I have a question. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Charlie.